Hello YouTube, and I'm back with another video. In my last video I mentioned I bought this book, Ready to Paint in 30 Minutes, and this is The Flower in Watercolor by Ann Mortimer. And if you look on YouTube, Ann Mortimer has a channel. She hasn't had any new videos posted, but the ones she has, they're very similar to the examples she has in this book. And if you're stuck at home during this time and you have nothing to do, I recommend this book for a beginner watercolorist and even intermediate. I think there's a little bit of everything for everybody. I was most impressed with this book because it offers this transparencies with the tracing for your drawing, and she recommends just using some transfer paper and then go over the outlines, but I prefer to rip mine out of the book and use some masking tape, place it on the window and just trace whatever pattern I want to color in. So this is what I love about this book. If you're not very talented at drawing, you're not very good with proportion, and with watercolor paper it's not good to draw on it and then erase, because it creates some sort of a resist and your colors are not gonna look too well. All in all, I looked for reviews of this book online and I couldn't find one, so hopefully I can do it justice. There are 31 small drawings like the ones I've showed you, and then she has 3 large sketches. For the small drawings she gives step-by-step instructions. For the large one, just kind of like the highlights. I did most of the ones I care about. I tried to stick with the flowers, leave some of the fall, and she has also berry element for like winter. And I'll see if I'll be successful in using these sketches and try my hand at this bigger drawings. What I've used, the paper I used was the Langton Prestige 100% cotton, and this is a 12 by 9 inch block, and I really enjoyed it. I was on the fence, but the more I painted on it, the more I got used to the paper. And the smaller, I'll show you in just a minute, the ones I completed, the smaller drawings. I cut my paper in 4 smaller pieces. It came out to be about 4.25 by 6 inches, and you can do all of the small ones using that size. And then for the large one, I'll probably use a whole 12 by 9 inches. So the book, it's starts like any watercolor book with some instructions on the tools you need. She suggests certain colors. I didn't have many of these colors, but I improvised with whatever I could find on my palette. The one I would recommend to get is this cobalt violet. I tried several attempts to replicate, but the shade is so specific and the granulation, that was the only one I had trouble getting the right shade. As you can see, she has exercises. She starts with simple ones like the graded washes and some sort of effects and lifting techniques. Instructions are very clear. They are numbered on the side, and then you have all these images step by step. As I said, it's really easy to follow, and I enjoyed the detailed instructions on preparing the watercolor ahead of time, when to let the layers dry, when to lift. I think for a beginner that's very valuable information. As you can see, she has the instructions, and then she has a few more detailed paintings using some of the techniques. She has I haven't tried all of them. Some of them, like this one, you have to have a little bit of a drawing skill. What I end up doing is just trace the pattern of this drawing, and I might try to replicate. Again, all the images are really pretty. The flowers very inspiring. She also have this autumn leaf, and and a little short lesson about color and tone. Not too much detail, not to overwhelm you. How to mix different colors. The drawing and composition, which again is not something I'm interested. Certain techniques like the salt technique. Very important with the salt technique, not all colors react to salt. It took me several tries to figure out which one of my colors will give me the best results. She's using here winter blue, which I believe it's some type of phthalo blue. I didn't have the winter blue, and I just use a phthalo blue green shade from Daniel Smith, and I had some pretty okay granulation. I'll show you in just a minute. Different flowers working with different colors. Of course, some of the botanical illustration, they're not as perfect and detailed as like Billy Showell or Anna Mason, but for a beginner I feel like this is much more approachable and less intimidating, and the results are stunning. This is the one I'm working at now. It should be ready soon, so that should come in a different video, and I'm sorry about the glare. Yeah, it's amazing how something that looks so professional and so difficult, just by following the steps you can get this result. And this I'll show you, skip towards the end with the oh, it's right here. These are the 12 by 9 drawings that completed, and you see you have some instructions but not as detailed as the small ones. So we'll see how those this one will come out. That probably is gonna be sometime in May, time permitting. But let me show you what I got. My examples following the tutorials in the book. I haven't followed many tutorials because some of them I find very simple and some just too complicated, or the steps are not as detailed. But this book, it's really good. So this one was the first one I tried. I didn't save enough white in the middle. I just added some white gel pen, but I think it turned out pretty good. This is the magnolia bud, and I had some trouble getting that cobalt violet shade. I used some rhodonite genuine from Daniel Smith and some quinacridone violet, and I came close enough, I think. For my background, I experimented with the granulating colors. I think this one was green apatite genuine. And of course my washes are not that smooth because I try to layer too much, but at least I learned something new. This one's I use a slightly different measurement just because I like the space around, oh, excuse me, around my painting, and I think it turned out pretty good. I also use different colors. I like the anthracynone blue, so I use that quite a lot. It's Amgram, the only tube from Amgram that I have. Another one that I really enjoyed, I used some French ultramarine for the background and layering on top of the lemon yellow. They're not really nice. This is probably one of my favorite. It's really easy to get different shades and colors using purples and pinks. I think you cannot go wrong with that, and you can get a high variation. So yes, this is definitely one of my favorites. And she also teaches you different techniques like the center of the flower, scraping using different tools. This one was the first drawing where she uses salt, and I use I forgot what combination of blue, but it didn't react to salt for the center of the flower, or it didn't react the way it showed in her example, but I still enjoy painting it. For this one I opened a tube of Prussian blue, and I really enjoy using that color. Another one where I struggle with the colors because she used a cobalt violet, but I think it worked out pretty good. This one, again, layering colors, using some masking fluid for the center of the flower, and then adding the shade. Really fun, and I didn't took long. I tried to work on 2 at a time, just because the time it takes for the one painting to dry, I don't have the patience. So instead of just ruining everything, I tried to work on 2, kind of let one to dry. This one, I probably should redo it. It's very hard to shade on yellow to create shadows. She recommends using oranges instead of the complementary purple, just so you can keep the vibrancy of the yellow. Yep, still a work in progress. The water lily was again one of my favorite. The water, especially getting it look like water, it was fun to do and practice. The backlit flower, I'm not sure if I got the effect she suggested in the book, but I think it turned out really nice. This is the one, again, I used salt and I researched to see what colors react to salt, and I got that pattern. I don't know how I feel overall about it, but I think it's a good exercise. And last for right now is this beautiful bell-shaped flower. I tried to even keep the background light, so it gives the whole drawing a sense of whiteness, and I think it turned out really good. Alright, there's probably gonna be at least another part 2 where I'll show what I'm able to accomplish, and maybe even a part 3 with a large 9x12. So stay tuned, and if you need something to do, grab yourself one of these books. I don't think it's very expensive, and give it a try. Thank you.